point, I thought, okay, we conceded one. Okay, can we get a point? You know.
Welcome back to Worldwide FC. The African Cup of Nations in Morocco has already delivered drama. Zimbabwe's opening clash against Egypt ended in defeat, and the fallout is heating up. Mo Salah was at his brilliant best, and Zimbabwe struggled to contain him. Group B is wide open now. South Africa leads, Egypt sits second, and Zimbabwe faces a tough road ahead. Kaizer Chiefs and Zimbabwean legend Willard Katsande didn't hold back. He questioned the coach's choices and argued that teenage Kaizer at the left back simply couldn't match Salah's football IQ. Strong words from a veteran's voice. So, was it poor tactics or just Egypt being unstoppable? Let us know what you think in the comments below, and stick around as we will play you Katsande's full analysis and comments right after this. This is Worldwide FC. Subscribe for more breaking football stories and debates. Now, here's Katsande in his own words.
Okay, can we get a point? You know, at the same time, if you're playing a high technical team like Egypt, and you're 1-1 in 84 minutes, what do you look for? You look for for a draw.
Yes.
So I feel like critical phase of the game killed us. In 2019 it was the same thing. 40 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, we conceded. So small details decide the matches, you know. So you should have controlled it better, and maybe you should have made a better substitution, or maybe delaying substitution in terms of taking your time to change, to kill the momentum, because I feel like we suffered in those moments. Yeah, I mean,
And which substitutions specifically are you talking about? Because there was an early one in the second half and then a late one there towards the end.
I will look into maybe both early and late, because, you know, early, Navaya was doing well, giving us those kind of press, a little bit of energy going forward.
Yes.
Maybe it's an injury, I don't know, but if you are to change that, because prior to the goal, Egypt were all over us. So meaning that those spaces, our spaces, you should have consolidated with Padera. You understand? If you take out a striker, can you put a midfielder so that he can help Mave?
Yes.
Mave, because Fabish was leaving Mave sometime.
Yes.
You know, you need a character to say, Fabish, don't go. I'm here, you know. But Mave is a shy, quiet boy who always talk by playing. He's a leader by playing, you know. So I feel in the last substitution, put a defender. And a player has to walk out or even sit on the ground. Tell the Jalai to sit on the ground. Kill the momentum of Egypt. Good, we see that Egypt is coming or go gun blazing, because they want to win. You can see even when they put Zizo in the center, they want to take the game to Zimbabwe. So as a coach, also tactically, you need to be strong.
Which is what we were talking about in the break, as much as they were leading, but they had to manage the game properly. Does it talk to maybe a new coach coming in before AFCON and maybe not understanding what needs to be done, or maybe the players not understanding the tactics and how he wants to play, or maybe he's still not sure how he wants to play with this team since he's still new?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you don't really know what happened, Tabiso, but coaches do send tactical instructions into players. And I've been at this situation at AFCON, and sometimes because of the pressure and the inexperience of some players, and then some players will just break the lines early, some players will lose shape, some players will just give the opponent space and time, you know, things that maybe the coach didn't really encourage. And this is where now you can see the difference between experienced team and a non-experienced team. But again, I look at Zimbabwe, especially having been absent in the previous AFCON, how they applied themselves from a mentality point of view, a qualitative point of view, the likes of Bojalai, Emmanuel, how Nakamba showed positional awareness today. I say there is still hope. They can still surprise the likes of Angola and South Africa.
Whoa, and even South Africa. Coach Thabo Zinong, I hope you take that back before the end of the show. But let's take a look then at what the numbers are telling us about this encounter, because probably one of the best games we've seen at this AFCON so far. Still early stages, but what a thriller we've had here. As expected, before the game we mentioned that Egypt was expected to play a lot more with the ball, and they dominated the possession here. Zimbabwe were happy to just absorb the pressure and try and catch them on the counter, even though they did give it a go here. For you, Willard, what stands out when you look at some of these numbers?
Yeah, obviously, you know, if you look at the stats, it doesn't favor us. But at the end of the day, the boys put a fight. You understand? You don't need to take that away from them, and nobody gave them a chance, and they managed to take the game to at least 84 minutes. You know, it's a matter of getting back to the drawing board, fix all those small details, manage critical phase of the game, because matches are being decided in those moments. Maybe the body is getting tired, but
the crosses, though, you spoke about it, and Egypt had 17 crosses, and you felt that Zimbabwe should have managed that department better and stopped them from getting the ball in.
Obviously, result to Salah's goal, his ball over the top is coming more like a cross, and the crosses, you know, if you don't have Arubi, Takwara blocking the shots and everything, can you try to solve the problem prior to the ball goes inside the box? I felt like we should have dealt with the crosses. Also, that's game intelligent. As players, you can see maybe you are suffering this way, and there are overloads from Egypt. Can we try to nullify that? Can you try to block the cross? Can you put your body on the line so that you can make somebody to make a dribble, so that at least we can stand a second chance to defend? But crosses. Remember, we also scored in a cross. Nobody wants the ball inside the box.
Prince Dube putting Zimbabwe ahead 1-0 at halftime, but there was a penalty shout also for Zimbabwe, and maybe they would have felt hard done. They felt it could have gone to VAR here. It was not just Willard Katsande also, but it was all of us watching. We felt that maybe there was a touch of the hand there. We're going to take a look at it also, as Zimbabwe kept on piling the pressure in that first half against Egypt, who had made all the running before that. And at halftime, they went into the break with the lead, and Willard was saying maybe that's where the game should have ended, but there had to be another one. But there was also an interesting observation that you made during the game. There was a pattern with Mo Salah giving Teenage Hadebe a difficult time there on that side. And you explained to us what was the thinking maybe of Teenage Hadebe playing on the left, but where would you have expected a Divine Lunga to have played there?
Yeah, obviously, you know, maybe the coaches with the players, you know, the health of the players comes to the part, and they opt to go with Teenage. But I felt like the minute the Egyptians have seen that Teenage characteristic is a centre back, and the overload there with Zizo, and even ball over the top from Fati. They were aiming Salah, hence they managed to get the second goal. And Teenage also to know that you know that quick than Salah world class player in terms of IQ.
Yes.
You should have also moved with the line, because you could see everybody was moving on the line. Maybe he was worried, like, if I leave you, maybe he's gonna be onside. But at the same time, you know, football is like that. Now, before Nani kicking foot, move the line so that you play him offside. In that moment, we were leading 1-0, 2-0. The whole complexion of the game changes. You never know. You could see even the coach of Egypt that he was panicking, hence to make a quick substitution. So result to that moment, if the penalty is given, we converted, we never know what's going to happen. Even with the score second half, it was still going to grind a point.
Okay, we're going to have to wait for Soccer Zone for Victor Hlungwane to explain to us why they at least did not go to the VAR for that one, because it was not Swilo Saseka. But one,
like we said earlier with Willard, that Washington Navaya and Prince Dube showed to have a better relationship in terms of pressing, double pressing, and also in transition from defense to attack. So as soon as Navaya was taken, you could see there was not enough fluidity and rhythm now in the two strikers now. So now, if you don't have two strikers who are not well coordinated in terms of pressing collectively, and then that means now the build-up for the Egyptian side is going to be easy by just bypassing the first line of press of the Zimbabwean team. And then this is where now Egypt started to gain momentum with regard to playing through the threats, because the press now was not as fluid as when they had Dube and Navaya.
Yeah, and the equalizer then eventually came for Egypt. They were piling on the pressure on Zimbabwe, with Mamouche looking very, very dangerous there, looking like a real threat, even though he wasn't as lively in the first half. And
Keeper that has been trying his best to help the team, keep the team in the game, was isolated, and then he couldn't do anything. I mean, that's a top goal from a world-class striker who's playing for Man City.
Is it a disappointing one to consider? You think there's not much they could have done?
It's a disappointment to consider. If you look into what coach is saying, if the ball carrier, there's no pressure on the ball, kill the space behind.
Yeah.
He's got all the time to drive with the ball.
Yes, if the heads are up, kill the space because he's looking beyond. So, and also, if something like that happen, we don't want it to happen. But how do we solve it? Godwin is out, the centre back quickly come out, then the centre mid, Marvelous or Fabish slot in for temporarily to be the third centre back, so that we create, because those are the areas where Egypt were finding joy. The half spaces,
Yes.
those spaces behind the defense, and they draw in, like I was talking about teenage, they draw him in, they look for that space. So if you look into similarities of these goals, it's more like similar.
Yeah, and obviously Egypt had the momentum after this then, and they were looking now.
If you look at the goal analysis of Egypt, most of their goals are coming from wide areas via crosses. So now, that was what was supposed to be done by the Zimbabwean Warriors, to say, let's deny them cross by applying pressure and also provide cover, but also have numbers inside the box with a combination of the two centre-backs, and then, of course, Fabish dropping also to create overloads, and Marvelous Nagamba creating overloads in order to win the second balls and maybe the third balls. But this is where I thought Zimbabwe didn't do enough to stop those crosses from coming from wide channels.